Hey guys, this is Kai from WCC and we're watching the finals of the Vidar VGCS at 2x speed because this match actually went on for a very long time. So on the left we have Ignatius Ivan playing new Murakumo, and on the right we have Jasper playing Royals. Okay, so right off the bat we see that Royals went first, giving it a huge advantage in this matchup. Now he's able to make a grade 2 field, and there's not really a good way for Murakumo to respond to that, but we're going to see how much he actually commits from his hand. And it doesn't look like he commits a lot. There's actually two ways to play against Murakumo in this matchup. One is you go balls to the walls and just rush him and then just eat his stun while you're low damage and then just try to end the game after. Or you play a very conservative game where you carefully give him counterblast and don't let him get the stun off. So it looks like he might be going for the latter. He's calling a Pongal from his hand, which seems pretty odd, which could indicate that he actually just has a very bad hand. And it looks like not committing 3 attacks right now, even though he did reveal he had a better veer in his hand, it looks like he might be just want to slow down the game a bit. Attack doesn't hit because of the trigger, so having some fun little banter there with moving the Pongal around. And Ignatius gets the Zambaku ride, which is pretty decent. You'd always want to first ride Zambaku, and if you can get the ride lock here, that is exactly what he's looking for, and he definitely does after playing that right arrestor. Just have to be a bit more careful though. It looks like 2 right arrestors are out, so you have to be really careful of the arrestor counts when you're playing Murakumo, and also when you're playing against Murakumo. You want to keep track of which arrestors does he have the least of in his deck, and then you can pressure that specific arrestor. And he's committing quite a field here. He's played a 3rd right arrestor, so he only has 1 left in his deck, so he has to be really careful about that. Just call the Benjishi as well, but I don't think he's going to want to replace any of those cards on the field because it's not going to hit anyway. So, and it's quite likely Jasper did guard, but he's not going to guard with a Sentinel, that's for sure, against a 17k. And it looks like Jasper's very good at keeping just enough damage, so he doesn't want to take too much damage in that one turn. He just wants to take as much damage as he needs, which is usually just 1 CB. Calls out a Blaster Blade just with the Alfred and just commits 1 other card as well. So definitely going for a very conservative play. It's attacking the Vanguard. Sure. He might attack the rear guards now, especially those right arrestors. Those right arrestors are a definite weak point. Yep. And this one to a right arrestor? I think that would be the correct play. Looks like you're taking the left arrestor, and that's guarded as well. Didn't really have to guard that though. You can just call another out with Zambaku's effect. Now it looks like Zambaku is just gonna pop the ride lock effect again, but he wasn't able to ride another Zambaku. Now, one thing with the Excel matchups is that Excel really gets going when it reaches its 2nd Excel gift. When it doesn't have that second one, the attacks can still be guarded, it's just some extra pressure, but once it gets that 2nd gift, your hand really starts depleting, and not being able to get a 2nd Zambaku is not great. And this field is pretty jank. Those left arrestors have to actually Soul Blast to hit anything at all. And you don't really want to do that in this situation. Not being able to get the extra souls from the new cards, Jakotsuko and Rainy Madame, or not being able to rewrite. You don't want to waste that soul, because otherwise you won't be able to ride lock Royals. And ride locking is definitely the key to this matchup. Giving Force the 2nd Force gift really puts the pressure on. And having to deal with things like Monarch Sanctuary and Exculpate is pretty tough for the Murakumo player to handle. Okay, so he did get a heal off in his previous turn, which is pretty good as Murakumo. Heals are always good, but with Murakumo, getting another turn of that ride lock and then also threatening the stun, having that extra wiggle room to use your counterblast is quite annoying for the other player. Okay, alright, so again, Jasper last turn only took 1 damage, just enough to use his effect, and then played a full field from his hand. But a very replaceable field because of the Bedivere and K column. He got a crit on his Vanguard, but Ignatius getting those 2 triggers really walls off any attacks. So the pressure is all on those right arresters again, which is a perfectly decent play. You're making him guard. He technically has to guard. Like, there's no question. Like, he's only got 1 right arrestor in his deck, I think. So now he can actually pull off the stun. He might not use it. You don't always have to stun your opponent because you will technically counter blast lock you, and it looks like he doesn't want to do it when his opponent's at 3. And to be honest, Jasper does have a pretty decent hand. Even if he's stunned, it's probably not a kill. To be honest, I think I probably would have stunned just to try and even out the game a bit since he's a bit behind. Vanguard attacks, gets blank. Should be a pretty easy guard for Jasper now. And he's pressuring the Blaster Blade. Is he out of Blaster Blades? Well, if he lets it go, he's probably not. He's considering it. It's a very easy guard though. Murakumo triggering blanks at 4 is not great. Means his hand size is going to get depleted against this field. So he's actually guarded the Blaster Blade? Yeah, so here, like, Jasper's got a full field. He can literally just, like, draw an attack. He has to guard the Vanguard. Then he can pressure the right arrestor a lot. Okay, alright, so yeah, so Jakotsuki actually pulled off getting 2 Shiryukis from that attack, so pretty decent. And yes, Jasper going for straight just attacking. Doesn't have to commit anything because his field is full, and gets the heal trigger. Heal trigger, yeah, good. Nothing much to say about heal triggers in standard. Puts it on his Bedivere column. Hitting a strong column, but like, well, hitting strong power, but is he going to give him the 5th damage? He technically can, doesn't have to worry about the stun. But very interesting. If he attacked the Vanguard just then with the Bedivere column, definitely take. But if he attacks the right arrestor, he's definitely putting pressure on the Murakumo player to guard that. Because now you can't do this play, which is reride the Zanbaku and get another ride lock off. If that right arrestor is dead, there is no ride lock, and to be honest, that just goes downhill for the Murakumo player. If like Jasper rides something like Monarch, Alfred, an Exculpate, we saw one went to the damage zone, but if you had the other one, or even just another Cockford, gets another force marker, and yeah, that is the pressure. So, but now Axel has gotten his 2nd gift, so that extra attack is going to start straining Jasper's hand. He has to be really careful about how much damage he takes now. If he takes a Vanguard attack and that's not a trigger, it's gonna be, he's gonna have to commit quite a bit more to guard. Probably no guard here. Yeah, no guard, gets a draw. He can be more free against Murakumo from taking Vanguard attacks because they don't run 8 crits usually, they run 6/6. And he did reveal a Zangeki off the drive check, so it's very important, that card. In this situation, he might just straight up ride that if he doesn't have the soul to continue the ride lock. Yep. Okay, so it doesn't hit, gets a soul, uses Rainy Madame's effect to get a Shiryuki back. He can threaten a Shiryuki play next turn or use it for defense. And a Shiryuki defense here is pretty good against Force. They only get 3 attacks usually, minus 10k. Really conserve hand, and that's what Ignatius is searching for. Those columns that Royals get, even without Force, get really huge. And you sometimes just need having like a 30k built in to the Shiryuki is just devastating. Jasper getting the crit. And yes, 20k onto the ride arrestor, forcing him to guard or just definitely no more ride lock next turn. He can let it go because he actually has a Zangeki. Just means he doesn't get the crit. But the crit is not too important in this situation when your opponent is at 4. Ooh. He's committing all his attacks to that ride arrestor. Really putting that pressure on. So he actually just went into the Zangeki. Probably could have kept that Sentinel, I think. He doesn't really need the crit, in my opinion. Because the pressure is still there, unless he's just thinking of YOLOing his opponent. Now, like, the thing is, though, that Jasper can ride up next turn. And if he has a Monarch, it's like, rides Monarch and a Force. So he's Sentineling the Vanguard and triggering the Benjishis. You can technically trigger 2. Now, I don't think you can call any Zangekis out, and you wouldn't want to in this situation, I don't think. Because he hasn't attacked with anything. The only thing that it'll accomplish is making a stronger attack, but all those cards are quite valuable. Quite valuable for the Murakumo player. So it's putting back the ride arresters and not calling anything. So very smart play. Something you can learn. Triggered a draw trigger. Couldn't see the other one, sorry. But looked like a blank. Now it's just everything to the Vanguard, I think. Oh, he can pressure the better column to make that column have less value. This game so far has been a clinic on attacking valuable rearguards, slowing the game down, finding different ways to stop your opponent's plays from happening. And he didn't get a trigger from that damage zone. Gonna go all in on the Vanguard, I think. Jasper's considering to guard this. He's probably not going to hit a Shiryuki and just get the Soul Charge to set up another Shiryuki defense next turn. Probably should have used the Rainy Madame skill just then, just to have more options next turn. If you want to ride it after Shiryuki defense, or call it as a reguard. Now, can Jasper ride a Monarch Sanctuary after it? If he can, that's quite a lot of pressure, considering he spent like I think he's like 3 nulls out, right? 2 went to the damage zone, and then he used 1 to guard that right arrestor. Yeah, he's got the Sanctuary. He's gonna put the Force on Vanguard. Yep, correct. Against Murakumo, some people are don't really want to put that marker on the Vanguard in case on the stun turn you just don't get the value from that Force marker anymore. But it's not a bad play, because if your clan's gift is not protect, they can't always confirm they have a Sentinel in their hand. And having Vanguards which get crit, also getting that extra 10k Force marker, is tons and tons of pressure that they eventually can't deal with. And you're probably going to see here, if there's no Sentinel on the Murakumo side, there's going to be a lot of guards happening. Alright, that's a 46? 46, yeah. So Shiryuki comes out, minuses the power, and then how much of Ignatius' hand does he have to commit to guard this? Remember his previous turn, he only triggered a draw trigger after committing a field, so His hand is quite low, and it's also quite weak too. Is he gonna go for 2? The minus 10, and then that's 25 extra. On a 17k Vanguard, don't forget. He's got the 2 left arresters there. His opponent's Vanguard's on 36k now because of Shiryuki's effect. Ooh, that's quite a lot of cards he's committing. Gets a heal. Extending the game just a bit longer. Having that extra damage to play with against Excel is so good. If you get like a damage trigger, it just stops all those attacks. It's Excel's worst nightmare. It's considering where to put it. Puts it on Vanguard but misses. To be honest, it's not a bad choice. Because those that Zangeki is still strong. It's 17k. And triggering a second trigger just ends the game right there. His hand doesn't look like it can sustain as much, it seems, so you've got to play to win. You've got to go for it. Even if it's like a small out, you still have to play for it. Okay, so he rides the Zangeki to make sure his opponent still has the guard of zeros. And interesting enough, that crit from the right arrestor might come into play here. Jasper's hand looks pretty small. But to be honest, the Murakumo has nothing in his hand. It's got 1 crit. Can't even make a full field. So it looks like Vanguard to Vanguard. Go for a double trigger. That crit into the Blaster Blade doesn't work. I'm not sure if they've realized it, but Monarch's effect gives Blaster Blade plus 10k. So that's actually a 20k Blaster Blade. So that crit trigger just doesn't hit. So Jasper should just say, yeah, just no guard, and it doesn't hit. But if they don't realize this, that's quite unfortunate. The crit can attack the better view instead, or attack the Vanguard. But what he wants to do is reduce the guard so there is a more chance for that Zangeki to go through. So that Blaster Blade actually got retired. Unlucky, but in the bigger scheme of things, you can just say it guarded the attack, even though it didn't need to. You can say the crit attack like the Benevi or the Vanguard and the Blaster Blade intercepted, which would be a bad play, but letting it die is a bad play. But now we're looking at Zangeki. So this is the exact situation that Ignatius has been fishing for. He triggers the trigger on the first drive check while his opponent is guarding for 2. Now he's threatening lethal with that second drive check. Bam. So he gets that second drive check, but his opponent gets a heal, which keeps him in the game. Incredible. And the right arrestor attacks the other one. Other rear guard. So now Jasper's turn. This is probably his final turn now. But his opponent at 3 is quite unfortunate. It's pretty hard to punch through. He rides another Monarch Sanctuary. He has a good chance. His opponent confirms a 40k guard in his hand though, so if he rides Monarch and then puts Force on Vanguard, he can try and punch through. But he might not have another one. Yeah, so he rides a Soul Saber just for the Force marker. That Soul Saber has like no way of getting the effect of unless he has a Pongal in his hand. I think the only way for Jasper to win now is just with a double crit while his opponent doesn't guard the Vanguard. Can he use his 3 counterblast though to actually get a bit of hand? Well, it looks like Jasper doesn't have any deck as well, so calls the Arcanes, doesn't use the effect, so he's likely out. And now it's time to YOLO, I guess. No guard? Yep. Ooh. That draw trigger. It's another heal. Wow. It's like 3 heals stacked together, it seems. And then I think that's game. I think that's game. The other cards can attack the rear guards, and that's about it. He goes for the Vanguard. It's a pretty easy guard. He can just take one and just guard the other one if he needs to, but he should be attacking the right arrestor. Crit trigger is pretty weak. Yeah, he attacked the right arrestor. It's still guardable though. Still guardable. It's only 28, yeah. And the other side's only 28 as well. So if he attacks the right arrestor, still guardable. Yep. Attacks the right arrestor. We'll just guard this. Draw. Oh, he doesn't have to guard it too. But I think it's better if he did guard it, because he has a heal in his hand, and now he's committing his whole hand to Excel circles. So if he had the right arrestor, that's at least a bit more guard. And his Vanguard has crit as well. Oh, he's got another right arrestor. So his Vanguard will definitely have crit, just the power is slightly less. Okay, so he plays a Shiryuki. He can actually use the Shiryuki, but that means his opponent can guard with zeros. Well, his opponent can guard with stuff other than zeros. But at this point it's kind of relevant. I think his opponent has like 7 cards in his hand, isn't it? So I think just keeping the soul is better. Keeping the soul is better. His opponent's 5 anyway. And to leave zeros is quite devastating. This is 20k. I think he should at least guard for 1. Because it has crit. Unless his hand is just that bad. He can intercept both. He's really taking his time to think about his guarding. Because he might actually just have enough to guard all of it. Just enough, but we'll see. No? Yep. Okay. Get rid of it. And there's Ignatius' butler cleaning the card for him. Apparently everyone in Indonesia has butlers, so if you ever live there, make sure to get one. They'll fold your mat after you're done as well, so very good service. Yep, null the Vanguard, but he's gonna have to take something, I think. It's putting those Shiryukis back from Benjishi's effect, but pretty irrelevant right now. Triggers blanks. 15 you can intercept the other trigger, take this one. If he can't guard. If he gets a heal, he doesn't have to guard the other one. Can't guard with the K, so nulls again. Probably just take that, right? If you can't guard this. Yeah, and that's game. That's game. Long game. So I hope you guys all had fun watching the finals of Vidar VGCS. Hopefully we'll be doing more of these in the future. And we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming in the next couple of days, okay? So I'll catch you then in the next video.